Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a historic show for you tonight. We're happy to say our guest is the illustrious Kentucky attorney and independent gubernatorial candidate Gatewood Galbraith. As I've been telling folks every time I introduce him, he is just the guy who introduced me to Willie Nelson back over 20 years ago. So he'll be on our show. He's definitely one of the most eloquent and informed people in the world of industrial hemp and marijuana, and we'll be talking to him momentarily. Mr. Tim Pate is standing by, ready to
Good evening.
Provide musical accompaniment and join us up here on the stage. We have some very important hemp news for you tonight, and I'll be back with that in just a moment as we bring on our infamous Dancing Cannabis Leaves.
I feel the force.
Okay, we're having a slight teleprompter problem here, so we're going to jump over to our musical accompaniment. We'll be back with our hemp news segment in just a moment. Are you ready to go, Mr. Pate?
Always. I'm always ready to go.
Ready
Paul.
to improvise. That's
Why
wonderful.
not?
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's see here. Oh, you know what? Before I improvise or do anything else, I'd like to announce that this year again at the Seattle Hemp Fest, we'll be giving away a grand prize of a brand new guitar, and everybody on stage is going to sign that guitar up there. We've been doing this now. I think this is, I believe, the 14th guitar that I have been given over these years to give away at the Seattle Hemp Fest, and so I have it with me tonight just so that those of you who would like to win a guitar can salivate a little bit, because I know we've given away a lot of guitars, and they've always been covered with signatures, and they will be again this year. And so, once again, I'd like to thank Trade Up Music here in Portland, who actually gives us the guitar for us to give away at the Seattle Hemp Fest, and I'm very grateful for that. And I have a wonderful crew that comes along with me every year up there to help. We sell lottery tickets at the Seattle Hemp Fest, so that's coming up third weekend in August. We've got a lot of other shows to talk about this week, too, and we'll be talking about those throughout the show tonight. But in the meantime, I'd like to play a song. I don't often get to play. I don't pull this song out that often on purpose, just because it's important to me, I guess. But tonight I'd like to play this, especially since Galbraith is here, so I think this is cool. Well, let's all be farmers. Boy, I haven't done that in a long time. I'm going to start over. Well, let's all be farmers and save the trees. 1 acre of hemp would save the forest trees. Let's all be farmers and get filthy rich. Instead, we're wrecking the planet. It's beginning to bitch. Oh, let's all be farmers. Welfare must stop. This is the old, the new, the original. Oh, $1 billion crop. Oh, let's all be farmers. And save the seas. Oil without food. Yeah, I hear oil's coming. Oh, let's all be farmers. And index on the rain. I can grow my own oil thing. that you know. Well, who am I to tell you? Oh, what you can go, that's all the farmers. That's all the farmers. And as we watch that last tree fall, what will occur in the goddamn? Oh, we could have had them all. That's all the farmers. That's all the farmers. That's all the farmers. That's all the farmers. Let's all be farmers. Thank you, folks.
All right,
Very kind of you.
that is Mr. Tim Payton. We have a few exciting hemp news stories for you tonight. One is, our first story is out of Delaware, from Dover, Delaware. Delaware lawmakers on Wednesday approved legislation, Senate Bill 17, allowing for Delaware state authorized use and distribution of medical marijuana. Senate Bill 17, the Delaware Medical Marijuana Act, amends state law so that patients with an authorized debilitating medical condition can possess and consume cannabis obtained from state licensed facilities. The measure provides for the establishment of at least one nonprofit compassion center per county that would be licensed by the state to produce and dispense medical cannabis. Recommending physicians must have bona fide physician-patient relationship with a person before recommending the use of medical cannabis. Medical conditions that qualify for cannabis under Delaware's new law include cancer, HIV, AIDS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or Lou Gehrig's disease, Alzheimer's disease, and post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as cachexia, chronic pain. Condition has not responded to previously prescribed medications, seizures, nausea, severe nausea, and persistent muscle spasms included, but not limited to those characteristic of multiple sclerosis. Delaware Senate Bill 17 also provides medical marijuana patients who are not registered with the state to raise an affirmative defense motion to dismiss the charges. And just this evening, from Delaware Online, a story came out in the past couple of hours written by Chad Livengood out of Dover, Delaware. Governor Jack Markell of Delaware signed legislation today authorizing marijuana growing, distribution, and use for limited medical purposes. The General Assembly sent Markell the legislation on Wednesday. The governor signed the bill this morning without the usual signing ceremony in order to initiate a one-year regulatory and licensing process for 3 not-for-profit dispensaries that will be authorized to sell marijuana to qualified patients. Under Delaware Senate Bill 17, physicians could recommend marijuana for patients suffering, as we said a moment ago, from cancer, HIV, AIDS, multiple sclerosis, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Qualified patients who get a doctor's recommendation and a state-issued identification card in Delaware will be able to purchase up to 6 ounces of marijuana at one of the dispensaries. According to Governor Markell, he said in a written statement, quote, "We made it clear that this would need to be very limited in scope and actively targeted to only Delawareans with profound and chronic illnesses like cancer and ALS. It is. This bill needed to be about giving targeted help to the most sick in a way that made medical sense, and it is." Again, that's a statement written by Delaware Governor Markell, and that's their source this evening on May 13th is Delaware Online, and the author is Chad Livengood. Health regulators there in Delaware have up to 1 year following the law's passage to draft in regulations and issue licenses for state-authorized compassion centers. More news out of the Central East Coast from Annapolis, Maryland. Maryland's Governor Martin O'Malley this week signed legislation, Senate Bill 308, that expands Maryland's 8 years old affirmative defense law. Senate Bill 308 in Maryland removes fines and criminal penalties for citizens who, at trial, successfully raise an affirmative defense establishing that they possess limited amounts of marijuana for medicinal purposes. Under present Maryland law, patients who successfully raised an affirmative defense of medical necessity at trial still face a misdemeanor conviction, but no jail time and a $100 fine. Maryland citizens who cultivate cannabis or who possess quantities of marijuana above 1 ounce may still raise an affirmative defense at trial, and if successful, will have their sentence mitigated. As initially introduced, Maryland Senate Bill 308 and its House companion bill sought to establish a government-regulated program to provide qualified patients with legal access to state-licensed producers and distributors of medical cannabis. However, the measure was rewritten in March after Maryland's Department of Health Secretary publicly testified against it. Maryland state lawmakers are expected to revisit the possibility of regulating the production and distribution of medical marijuana next year after the issue is further examined by a legislative work group of medical, legal, and law enforcement professionals. Our last story tonight is out of Vermont. Vermont House and Senate lawmakers last week gave final approval to Senate Bill 17, which allows state licensed facilities to dispense marijuana to medically authorized patients. On Thursday, the House lawmakers decided 99-44 in Vermont in favor of the measure, which permits the establishment of 4 state-licensed medical cannabis dispensaries. Senators had previously approved the measure in April. House lawmakers overwhelmingly backed the proposal despite last-minute warnings from the United States Justice Department, alleging that Vermont Senate Bill 17 would conflict with federal anti-drug laws. As approved, each Vermont dispensary would be licensed by the State Department of Public Safety and would be permitted to serve up to 1,000 registered patients. Vermont Senate Bill 17 now goes to the desk of Governor Peter Schulman, or Shumlin, a Democrat who's on record in support of this measure. To date, only the states of Colorado, Maine, and New Mexico have state-licensed medical marijuana facilities up and running. Regulators in New Jersey and Rhode Island have selected applicants to operate similar state-licensed dispensaries, but neither state has allowed those applicants to open their planned facilities. Additionally, permits for licensed medical marijuana businesses are expected to be issued soon in the District of Columbia. Vermont's lawmakers initially approved the physician-supervised use of marijuana in 2004, but failed to provide a state-regulated supply source. So they've rectified that with this bill. And that's the end of our hemp news segment tonight. Pretty exciting news there, and I want to welcome to our show our esteemed guest, Mr. Gatewood Galbraith. Welcome.
Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, indeed.
And Mr. Tim Pates here,
yes,
too.
Yes, indeed, Tim. Yes, I love the music, brother.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's good to have you with us tonight.
These damn lights are hot.
Yes, they keep you warm. I'm a little perspired. Usually our air conditioning's a little better than tonight, but you just
Hello,
never know.
folks. Gatewood Galbraith here, straight in from Kentucky and enjoying the hospitality of some of the finest people I've ever met.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, indeed.
That's nice of you to say that.
So you are running for governor of this great state of Kentucky.
I'm an independent candidate for governor. I have run for governor before, and people said, Galbraith, you're a perennial candidate. And I said, well, hell, Kentucky's got perennial problems.
Right.
If people had beaten me the first time, it actually fixed the problems. I wouldn't have had to run again.
Right.
But they haven't, and they can't, and they won't, because neither party in Kentucky can produce a candidate can disengage from the partisanship long enough to work with the other side to get the job done. And so Kentucky's suffering from a bad case of electile dysfunction. And so we need to put an independent into the governor's office who doesn't care who gets credit for doing what's right for the people. Well, thank
There's
you,
a little
sir.
water
You're
for
welcome.
you.
Thank you.
Have some water.
You know, Gatewood has come out with this book, The Last Free Man in America Meets the Synthetic Subversion. Maybe we can get camera 2 over here to close in on that. This is a biographical.
It's an autobiography. Yes, indeed. It is. It's an ex-governor of the state of Kentucky says it's the best statement of freedom in America that he's ever read.
And it says right there in red, every generation must re-win its own freedom
That's right,
true. And
folks.
you're carrying some heavy artillery there, Gaywood.
That's an M60. That's no
that's an
prop. That's
M60.
a working model. That's right.
That's supposed to use 2 people to feed that thing bullets. I remember in my military training.
Well, if it goes into operation, it ain't going to be operating long. I figured that they'll take it out before it does too much damage. But like I say, it's more than a prop. I've been at this, as you know, Paul. I've been at this for a long time.
That's right. That's right.
In 1971, I was 24 years old and a milkman. When I decided I was grist for the mill, I was going to end up in prison or death at an early age. And so I decided I better learn what the system was. So I decided I was going to go to college, become an attorney. And if I was going to do that, I was going to go ahead and become governor of Kentucky and lift Kentucky out of poverty by returning marijuana and cannabis as a cash crop to the state of Kentucky. As in 1971, you can imagine the kind of looks at people's faces. People said, Galbraith, how can you hope to do anything politically on marijuana as a platform? And I said, well, there's more marijuana smokers than there are Republicans. And I said, he's right, my God. So I've been at it, gotten up every day for 40 years to get to exactly like that done. And that's why it is just so heartening to see the progress that, of course, Proposition 215 in California in 96, and what you folks have done here in Oregon. I mean, it's just fuel for my fire to see you all actually succeed at something I've been trying to do in Kentucky for for 40 years. We need to lift Kentucky out of poverty. It's one of the most poverty-ridden states in the country. We're ranked 47th, 48th, 49th, and 50th in all the standard of living indexes. Our children are poor, we're broke, we're bankrupt. We can't fund the retirement for our teachers or for our public employees. We need to find and rediscover something that will generate some money in the state. And of course, we were the world's largest producer of cannabis for over 100 years.
That's right.
And so, I want to go back and touch on the history and heritage of the state and get us to return to cannabis as a cash crop. Hey, if we're the first state east of Mississippi to actually license and regulate the hell out of it, we will lift Kentucky out of poverty. I'll fill every hotel room and motel room in that state 7 nights out of 7.
Make tourism boom, won't it?
Hey, you betcha. These won't be people come in there and drink whiskey and punch holes in your walls. These people come in, sit down, row 1, and order room service. I mean,
now, you were a trial attorney as well in the state of Kentucky. You were an active participant in as a defense attorney.
If you shoot the SOB, I'm just exactly who you want to walk in front of the jury with. There's no doubt about it.
I see. And I know we first met at normal conferences back in the late 80s. And then come 1990, you gave me a call and said, Willie Nelson wants to meet with you. And sure enough, a week or so later, I got called down to a local hotel. I went in the hotel. They took me back out to the parking lot. And there was a bus. And I got on the bus. And I never got off, so to speak. But I really appreciate that. I know a few weeks later, I traveled to Lexington, and you were there with a caravan of people and your red Mercedes-Benz station wagon.
That's right.
And you filled that thing up with hemp seed oil.
That's right.
And then drove the 120 miles from Lexington, Kentucky, through the state capital of Frankfort.
That's right.
On to Louisville.
Yeah, that's the first time and that's the first time in at least 70 years that anybody had operated a motor vehicle on the U.S. highway on hemp oil, as far as we know it.
Yeah.
And it just ran.
And
just
CNN was there.
Butter.
It made an enormous amount of news. They had a show at that kind called Earth Watch. I remember it was featured on that.
We were on Earth Watch at Condi's as well. That was, you're right, that was the premier show about
on environmental news
issues
on the internet,
CNN and
on the
TBS.
cable networks.
That's right, it was.
But we've been at it a long time.
And that's where Willie Nelson learned about hemp biodiesel too. And now he's one of the leading advocates of hemp biodiesel in general, and farmer rights, of course, too.
Willie's done 3 benefit concerts for me in my political career. And he's the nicest guy you could ever possibly want to meet.
I saw a commercial he just cut with you just a month or two ago.
I was riding down the golf course with him one day, and I said, Willie, I got to tell you just how much I appreciate you spending all this time with me. I said, here you're an international superstar. You can be spending time with kings and queens, other superstars. Here you're spending time with me. And he said, well, hell, Gaywood, you like to smoke pot, play golf, and look at women. Who else do I want to be spending my time with? You and me, Willie.
That's it. All right. You know, we have a phone call. We're going to take a call and see what our caller has said. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hello.
There you are.
How are you? Can you hear us? Hello?
I can hear you if you
All
can
right.
hear me.
Do you have a question for us tonight? Welcome to the show.
Uh-oh.
Let's turn your TV down and listen through the telephone. It'll work better. There's a delay.
Yes, the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office are telling people that you cannot transport medical marijuana in your car.
Well, whoever
And they
that is
also
wrong. And so you shouldn't be transporting it near you while you're driving, but that's just wrong. As long as you're not using medical marijuana while you're driving, then you can transport it in your car. Transportation is definitely included under the medical marijuana law.
They're also telling people that hashish is illegal not under Oregon law because it's a manufactured product.
Yeah, that again is illegal. The medical marijuana law says that all derivatives of cannabis are legal as well. So they're just, whoever it was that says that, and there's been several times that law enforcement said that. I know one time in Salem they arrested a fellow and it was big public news, but they had to drop those charges and give him back his medicine. So all we can do is try to educate these officers. It's good to carry a copy of the law with your medicine anytime you're traveling around. It's hard to do. If you have telephone access to the internet, it might be easier, but
I would like Paul to comment on that if it's possible.
the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, I would call them and I would get a copy of the law and maybe write a letter to the county sheriff.
I have a copy of the law, but Paul needs to say on television that it's not illegal to have hashish in your possession.
Well, I will be happy to say that you can legally have hashish in your possession under Oregon's medical marijuana law. You can also carry it in your car. You can't legally smoke it. That carries the same penalty, or use it in any other way while driving. That carries the same penalties as using alcohol or driving under the influence. But you can definitely transport it, both transporting cannabis and transforming it into hashish or a refined derivative is covered under the Oregon's medical marijuana law very clearly.
Yes, I know that, and you know that, but I would like Paul to comment on it if it's possible.
I don't know why you're saying Paul.
You mean
Paul did already?
You mean this guy? I'm Paul. I'm the guy who commented. Maybe you mean Tim? Or this is Gatewood Galbraith from Kentucky.
Whatever he said.
There you go.
All right, thank you very much.
I'm a criminal defense attorney, and I will tell you this. Police lie all the time.
Yeah.
All right?
That's a fact, Jack.
Or just keep your mouth shut completely.
Yeah.
Let me talk just a little bit about my campaign in Kentucky,
Please do.
why I'm out here in
Please,
Oregon,
Absolutely.
okay? You know, people say, why is a guy running for governor in Kentucky out here in Oregon? What common grounds do we have? Well, first of all, I would like to take a moment to eulogize my friend Jack Harrer.
Please do.
Our
Our mutual friend.
I
He
would
appeared here on this stage many times, including the night before he had his eventually fatal heart attack. He appeared here on the night of September 10th on our TV show of 2001. And he also gave his very last speech at our Hempstock Festival.
Jack Harrer, the godfather of hemp movement, who really began this movement, I guess, in the early 70s, has taught us all. Jack died this last year, and I was lucky enough to be able to do his eulogy or be one of the people at his eulogy. And I made up my mind when I knew I was going to come out here, I wanted to dedicate my travel and my appearance on this show to my good friend Jack Harrer, and I wrote a eulogy about him. For those of you who do not know, Jack Harrer wrote The Emperor Wears No Clothes, and this is the eulogy I wrote about him.
We have a couple versions of that right here.
Yes, it is.
Here's the original version that was produced here in Portland in 1985. And here's the 12th version that came out just prior to his death, the final version.
This is the way I remember Jack Harrer. Jack Harrer is a social and philosophical tsunami, the ripples from whose splash will forever grace the shores of human consciousness in every freedom-loving nation. He is a grand champion of we the people and the natural cycle. in our battle with the synthetic subversion which threatens the very concept of the sovereignty of each human individual. Jack's tireless efforts to eliminate the facts about cannabis have furnished freedom fighters everywhere with the tools of knowledge with which to resist the fascism of the corporate state as it seeks to subject everyone to its economic bottom line. Jack recognized that cannabis is indeed a gateway to existentialism, which enlightens our existence and is the basis of our freedom of choice. He also recognized the miraculous powers of this herb for healing, and many sick and dying people have found comfort in its use after reading his wonderful manifesto, The Emperor Wears No Clothes. I am one of them. Jack Ayer's grand spirit may have left his worn-out body, but he has entered into the hearts and minds of millions of us who will be forever grateful to have been educated by his commitment to the truth. God bless you, Jack.
Amen.
Thank you, Gateman.
Yes, I just felt like that needed to be said. But people like us, freedom fighters like us, like the audience out here and the people in this cast and the people out here volunteering their time to get out these kinds of words, we all feel like, cannabis is really an iconic issue. And not only for the herb itself and our desire to affiliate with it, but it also represents where the government has overstepped its bounds in policing private behavior. So and while we all know that on a conceptual basis, the way they treat us over our association with this green natural plant is really the most vivid day-to-day situation that we know of for that. So, of course, I am against the laws on marijuana, and I've run against them before, and I'm running against them now in this campaign. But I want to take it beyond that. I want to find out whether America itself still has a heart, still has a breath, still has a life, if the concept of America is still alive. You know, before America came about, we were all property. We belonged to the king or the queen or the warlord or the person who had the most gunpowder in the valley. If they came in and said, okay, bring Paul Stanford in here off with his head, there you went and there went your head. There was nobody to intercede for you on your behalf. But we, the people, with the sword pointed at the throat of the king, won a revolution. And our founding fathers who fostered that revolution had a grand scheme where they were going to lift everybody out of property, out of the concept of property. And for the first time in the Declaration of Independence, a governing body recognized that we, the people, were endowed by our Creator with inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We were our own sovereign from there on out. No one held that kind of power over us to bring us in and behead us like that. That we were lifted out of the concept of poverty, and the human beings for the first time were recognized as enlightened creatures. And right now, that whole concept of our own sovereignty is in great peril. And it is in great peril because of the huge influence of the huge amounts of money paid to our elected representatives by the people that I call the petrochemical, pharmaceutical, military, industrial, transnational, corporate, fascist, elite son of a bitches.
Would you say that again?
I sure will. The petrochemical, pharmaceutical, military, industrial, transnational, corporate, fascist, elite son of a bitches.
I'm going to ask you to say that a couple more times.
Yes, indeed.
Later on.
Well, I haven't finished yet, but
Okay.
who've never said the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. And they're not warm and fuzzy about you, your children, or your grandchildren. They see the Constitution and the Bill of Rights as impediments to the implementation of a new world order and global economy. And as far as I know, I'm the only person in America with a chance of being elected who's willing to kick their ass on behalf of the people.
Would you tell our audience what you would do upon being elected as the governor of the state of Kentucky?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is ground every helicopter hovering over the fields and gardens of the people of the state of Kentucky. This is America, not Afghanistan, and we're not an occupied territory, and I'm not going to treat our citizens like we are one. You know, the really beautiful part about this is the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness is not a federally endowed right. It's recognized in the Declaration of Independence, but it's not a law. Because it's not a constitution. It's in the Declaration of Independence, which is not a law. But the state of Kentucky has a constitution, which is the most people-friendly constitution in the country, more so than the federal constitution or any other state constitution, because the #1 section in the Kentucky Constitution says that every individual has a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's the #1 constitutional provision in the state of Kentucky. And we're going to go back and we're just going to start applying that kind of constitutional concept to the relationship of government to the people again in America. And we're going to see whether we can set the template for the rest of every other state to get the government out of your bedroom and your bloodstream and your brain and your bladder and your billfold and your back pocket and your internet bulletin board and put them back in a little box where they belong.
Amen.
Right.
I'll vote for
Amen.
you.
Can I get an amen?
Amen.
All right. Well,
Brother
that's
Gatewood.
it. Yes, indeed.
I
And
agree with that.
so our election, we have a hell of a shot at getting elected. We are totally independent. We have no party affiliation whatsoever.
Right.
In Kentucky, we suffer from what I call electile dysfunction, and that is where the leadership of both parties, Democrats, Republicans, have their horns locked up like two bull elk fighting over territory, while the business of the people lays dead in the dust. And neither party can produce a candidate that can disengage from the partisanship long enough to work with the other side to get the job done. So my running mate and I, it was a beautiful red-headed lady with 6 kids and 2 adopted and 1 special needs who really knows where the rubber meets the road in the state. We think an independent governor who does not care who gets credit for doing what's right for the people stands the best chance of using civility and statesmanship to get the best intention of both parties to work together to finally address the perennial problems. And that kind of talking is just attracting people from both parties in just huge quantities. We have a shot at winning the governorship of the state of Kentucky, and we're going to make a very loud noise on behalf of the people when we do
Well, I
it.
know
So good luck.
Jesse Ventura was an independent who won the gubernatorial election.
He was a
and
Reform Party candidate, and they gave him $500,000 to begin the campaign.
Oh, really? Okay.
Listen,
Well, that makes
anybody
a
out there with $500,000? Listen, we need money. We
Yeah.
need money. One of the reasons I'm out here is you've been so very nice as to set up a fundraising at Clinton's.
Yep, we're going to be at the Clinton Street Theater tomorrow. We'll have camera close in on that perhaps here in a moment. And we've going to have a benefit tomorrow at 4 o'clock, or 3:30 actually. We'll start 3:30 till 5:30 at the Clinton Street Theater at the corner of Southeast 26th and Clinton Street here in Portland.
And I'll
That's
have this book
Southeast.
for every donor. Now this book, let me have that book
Please.
for just a second, Paul. This is my autobiography. And like I said, I was 24 years old and a milkman when I decided to go to college, become an attorney, and lift Kentucky out of poverty. And but I wrote this book about 5-6 years ago. I gave it to an ex-governor of the state of Kentucky who said it's the best statement on freedom in America that he's ever read. I left out 100% of the sex and 80% of the drugs, but this is still a kick-butt read. I think everybody enjoy it, and anybody who can make the fundraising tomorrow and who can make a donation will get a free copy of the book. So if you can come on by, I'd really appreciate it. Again, if you're a big dog, I'm a criminal defense attorney. I also represent lottery winners. I haven't really had any of them yet, but if I do, I'm just the man that you want to talk to. I'll cost you less than most.
Well, I've started reading it, and I got to say, it is a lively read. It's just as lively as he is, so I
But
do
this-
recommend it.
This governor, I gave it to him at 1:30 in the afternoon one day. He said, I'll read it over the holidays and get back to you. And so at 10 o'clock the next morning, he called me and said, Gatewood, he said, I sat down at 9 o'clock last night, take a look at the pictures, finished reading it at 4:30 this morning.
I started it myself a little while ago, and it was like, whoa.
Couldn't put it down, huh?
And it's a very good read. I do agree. It's
a great
very
book.
lively.
Well, thank you.
So I think we have a caller who's been standing by. Welcome to the show, caller. Oh, they're gone.
They're gone. That's all right.
That's
I
all
don't
right.
mean- I
You've
don't
got
mean to be talking
that.
to
You've got a lot to say, and you're most eloquent. So I like to hear the way you tell things because it's very insightful.
Yes.
Well, I've been looking at it for 40 years. Somebody said, Gatewood, you're an awful smart guy. And I said, well, hell, if all you did was quote Jefferson and Washington and Adams and Franklin, you'd sound smart too.
That helps a lot. That helps a lot. We have a film clip we're going to roll right now of an interview with you and Casper Leach on the Time for Hemp show back 20 years ago, and we're just going to show a little excerpt of that.
Oh, boy.
We'll be back in just a moment.
Passage back in time.
Or no, they're not ready yet.
Nope, they're not. Okay.
Well,
All
I got
right. Gremlins.
yeah.
Even the
there-
gremlins are
there
volunteers
gremlins
there.
in the studio, and that happens.
You've got some show and tell stuff too there.
I do. We'll go into that in just a little bit.
We have all kinds of stuff. I know that we've got concerts coming up. We've got the show up on July the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in Eugene at the Lane County Event Center. On the 2nd of July, on the 3rd of July at the Deschutes County Fairgrounds and Expo Center, and then on the 4th of July at the Washington Park Rose Garden Amphitheater. and we're bringing Toots and the Maytals along with Dubtonic Crew from Jamaica. We're also having Rhythm Culture and John Trudell and Bad Dog, along with Nikki Davis. So we should have a very good show. You can get tickets. You can go online and find out all about that. And I want to remind everybody who's been involved with our Facebook competition that the competition is going to be over here at the end of the month on the 31st. We have 76 bands that have signed up this year. Remember, the winner gets $1,000. And it's been a very lively competition. You've got just a few more weeks to put your vote in for your favorite bands, and just say whether you like it or not. You could vote for every band, but you only get to vote once for each one. And we have really increased our footprint in Facebook over this contest. So I'm pleased and happy to see that happen, and grateful that a lot of people like what we've been doing.
So Gatewood, tell us more about the petrochemical, pharmaceutical, industrial sons of bitches.
Well, it's part of the free trade, fair trade conundrum. United States used to practice exporting human rights when we practiced fair trade. We would let goods into our borders, and the tariffs and duties we put on was dependent on how the government treated its citizens in the country where these products were made. In the semi-slave produced places like China, when those very least costly goods hit our borders, we had to put compensatory duties in trade so they wouldn't come in and undermine our manufacturers and our mom and pop stores. And we called that fair trade. If you, like England, if you paid your people a living wage when your goods hit our borders, we put very small compensatory duties and trades on it. In 1989, George Bush removed human rights as a factor in awarding trade status. He didn't take it from number 1 down to number 2 and 3. He removed it completely from the list. Immediately, China got most favored nation trade status, and immediately all those goods hit our borders, came in, hit Winn-Dixie, or hit Walmart, undersold our moms and pops, and that knocked out all the small town economies, and and decimated the middle class and the manufacturing base in states like Kentucky. It may have improved some jobs in coastal states like Oregon, but in Central America states like Kentucky, it just decimated our middle class.
Right.
We've lost hundreds of thousands of jobs. We're destitute now, and so we look at this free trade. When they took human rights out as any kind of factor in the corporate bottom line, a country that has abandoned human rights as a foreign policy basis is on the verge of disregarding human rights on a domestic basis. Mm-hmm. And we think that this whole us versus them attitude of the government towards we the people, and the Patriot Act and this assault on people who are associated with the green natural plant, that's just all just a much larger battle, the battle between the natural cycle and the synthetic cycle. And that's where the real battle is today, natural cycle and synthetic cycle. The synthetic cycles represented by the ageless, breathless, eternally living corporations, a fictional entity that has no human life to it, and corporations and synthetics and petroleum and all the synthetic products versus the human beings, the natural cycle, and the bond with the Mother Earth, and they want to synthesize everything, including human beings, for God's sakes. Mm-hmm. I ain't going down without a fight. I don't know about anybody else, but that M60's no prop. I'm not going down without a fight.
Mm-hmm. Me neither.
I was talking with a prosecutor in Kentucky court the other day, and he said, Gatewood, he says, when you got to stop standing out there on this marijuana issue? And I said, marijuana issue, Ray? I said, you think I'm out here standing what I stand for on the marijuana issue? He says, sure. And I said, well, you just don't know, Ray. I stand out there on the threshold issue. Just exactly when do I get to shoot your ass when you come across my threshold? He didn't know what to say.
Right.
Most people who hear that the first time don't know what to say. But I say it all over the state of Kentucky, and I'm going to get elected governor. So what do you think about that?
That's great. I know you started out kind of low in the polls, but you're going up there.
Hey, we're rising. We're rising every day. We have until November. I said we started out 6 months ago at 5%. They said, "What do you think?" I said, "If we hit 10% by May, we're doing good."
Yeah, Kentucky's gubernatorial elections out of kind of the sequence with most of the rest of the
There's
country.
only three of them in the country next year.
Yeah.
I said if we hit 10% by May, we're right on track. We hit 13% by April. And
All right.
so, we're going to hit 15 to 20% by September, and it's going to be all over. We're going to take them. We got unions coming out behind us. We got the teachers associations coming out behind us, associations.
All right. We're going to take another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hey.
Howdy.
So I have a question. How do you get a medical marijuana card?
You've got to get a doctor's recommendation, and then in the state of Oregon, you have to fill out an application and turn in there's called an attending physician statement from your physician that's filled out by your doctor, along with your application and $100 to the Oregon Health Department. And once you've turned that in, then you become a legal medical marijuana patient. If you're on food stamps, Medicaid, or Social Security, supplemental security income, then it is $20 a year. But for everyone else, it's $100 a year. And we have doctors who can help you if you have a medical condition and either your doctor won't do it or you don't want this to be in your permanent medical record, and there's a list of conditions right there: chronic pain and nausea, AIDS, glaucoma, irritable bowel syndrome, seizures, spastic disorders like multiple sclerosis or asthma, GERD, other gastrointestinal disorders like Crohn's disease, hepatitis C, and cancer. Any of those, you qualify for medical marijuana. If you need help finding a doctor, we have doctors and a doctor referral service we could refer you to. Just give us a call. Our local number is 503-235-4606. There it is, 503-235-4606. If you're outside of the Portland, Oregon area, you can call us at 503, or actually 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. Or go to hemp.org, which is our web portal, to find out about all our various activities. Okay, I hope that helps.
Hey, listen, while I'm here on the West Coast, I want to tell you folks just what a treasure you have in this man right here. I've been at this for 40 years. Since 1971, I've been out here fighting this battle. And he's 12 years younger than me. And just as soon as he reached my age, he took up the battle too. And he's been at it just as hard at it as anybody, and had some more success than 99.99% of the people who ever took up this battle. I mean, this man, Paul Stanford, has done more than you folks will ever know on behalf of the people. And what he's doing right now is just absolutely plowing new ground. And he's the cutting edge of the envelope, and you all want to appreciate more than whatever you've done. You hadn't appreciated him enough, I could tell.
I had a big event. I'm going to do our little show and tell segment tonight. I'm going to start here with this. Thank you, and I really appreciate that. I had a pretty good honor.
It is true. I work with him every day, and I know what you said is very true. He's been supportive of all of our events for such a long time, so we're going to interrupt and just say he's right.
You're
all
a
right,
well guy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I had the great honor here on yesterday morning of going and being a program faculty presenter for the American Bar Association. So I got to tell the American Bar Association about our medical marijuana program and the regulations of it across the country, and of course our Oregon Cannabis Tax Act petition. So we are circulating this petition to completely legalize marijuana. It would allow any individual to grow their own marijuana without any artificial limits. You wouldn't have to have a permit or registration to grow your own. If you wanted to sell your marijuana, you'd have to get a permit, however, and go through a state regulatory system. We set this up specifically, our regulatory model, to meet the conditions that are mandated in several international treaties. So it's set up so it will be upheld in federal court. So we're gathering signatures. We're up to about 5,400 signatures as of yesterday. We need 90,000 or 87,250 valid registered Oregon voter signatures. And so I got to talk about that with the American Bar Association people, and I really liked the slogan they have on their website, and the little button here, I didn't see it until then, but it says, "Defending liberty and pursuing justice." You know, Gatewood, that's what we've been doing our whole life, you know, defending liberty and pursuing justice. So that was good. Okay, show and tell. We'll start out with this nifty new product called Sunny Hemp Plus Bars from Nature's Path. These are really tasty. We're just going to open them up and start eating them right here on the show. You know, why not? You know, and this is a non-commercial show, but we like to promote industrial hemp. Try one of these. You guys can tell me how they taste later on. Sunny Hemp Bars. They come in this nifty. This is definitely, you look at this leaf on the front of this box. That is not a industrial hemp leaf. That is a fat indica leaf. That is not one of those low THC plant leaves there. I don't know exactly where they got their leaf, but it says it's USDA organic. The hemp wasn't cultivated in the USA. We know that much. Over here we have our antique medical marijuana bottles. This first one is from London, England. It's tincture of cannabis indica. It's from Allen and Hansberry Ltd. Of London. Maybe we can close in a little bit tighter with the camera on that because it doesn't look very big.
Now, is that one considered a poison because of the
Well, you know, they actually called it poison, but then they later said that it's not poison, but formerly considered so. They found that it wasn't toxic in any dose.
I've been trying to kill myself with it for 40 years.
It's completely non-toxic, and according to the DEA's own administrative law judge, the safest pharmacologically active substance known to man. Next door, we have this little powdered extract of cannabis from Eli Lilly. Powdered extract of cannabis. This contained 1 ounce, this little bottle. This would have been powdered hashish. The resin off of cannabis had been extracted through a sifting process. And that's one way to make hashish, is with a dry sifting process. Then this is from Eli Lilly here. Scoot on over a little, because we're behind the logo here. Well, here we go. Okay, this one is from Park Davis, also powdered extract of cannabis. So we have an Eli Lilly bottle of hash and a Park Davis bottle of hash, both of them held 1 ounce. Right next to it, we have a big tincture bottle of cannabis indica from Park Davis. So we have Park Davis hash, Park Davis cannabis tincture. It's just like you can go in and get at many medical marijuana dispensaries around the country. And you know,
does it say poison on its face like that one does?
Yeah, that one does too. They took that off after a few years. Now this is one of the tins that the United States government sends to medical marijuana patients. And this one is L.V. Masika's that was brought in to her ophthalmologist in at the Boston Eye Institute in Florida. And it says here that this contained 300 marijuana cigarettes per can. And that was about a month's supply, one of these 300 cigarettes. They gave her 10 cigarettes a day. And then right next door here, we have hemp nuggets. These are hulled hemp seeds. This stuff tastes great. It's like a combination of sunflower seeds and cashews or walnuts. Has an after flavor like walnuts or pecans, and very, very healthy for you. It has all the omega-3 and omega-6 polyunsaturates, fats that are an excellent source of energy and good for your heart and your brain and all of that. Then someone, looks like you guys have finished these bars.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
We have, as we showed a little bit earlier, one of the very first editions of Jack Hare's book. Who brought this in today? Somebody? Okay. Very first edition of Jack Hare's book, and then the most recent edition of Jack Hare's book, and that's been a seminal influence for us in terms of bringing us to awareness.
That book blew my mind.
Yeah.
Mine too. Mine too.
That book has furnished freedom fighters with so much information.
This one here was written, the first edition was written in my house here in Portland, Oregon, way back in 1985. So I'm proud to have had something to do with that. And still in all of those editions is in the dedication as one of the
Yes, indeed.
first. So I'm proud of that.
We have a studio audience question.
We have a studio audience question. We got about 7 minutes left to go. Go right ahead, Jennifer.
It's more of a comment than a question, but
Yeah.
when we just brought up the Oregon Medical Marijuana Act, there's a new, most recent attack and a hearing scheduled for it that was just announced today for next Thursday at 3 p.m. in
So
Salem.
a last-minute bill is resurfaced in the Oregon legislature that we must fight.
And so let me tell you two of the biggest things that are concerning. One is that it will give law enforcement a list of all grow sites every quarter, which is definitely something that we don't want. And then another portion of it, I think, may undo the OMMA inadvertently, and that's that doctors will have to certify that medical marijuana provides therapeutic value, which I don't know that doctors can legally make such claims. So that's another really concerning point there.
All right.
It's Thursday at 3 p.m. There's many more things.
Yeah, there are.
But those two in particular are very concerning. So.
So what is that bill number now?
3664. And the hearing is at 3 p.m. in Salem and HRE on Thursday the 19th.
Thursday the 19th.
There's some very sick people who are underage in this state who are medical marijuana patients, and I've met a few of them over the years, and every time I have, they've always looked frail and very ill. And under this bill, they would have to recertify their illness every 3 months for the until they're adults, and it just makes no sense whatsoever. The people who put this forward deserve a big fight, and they're going to get one.
Listen, this battle isn't over yet.
No,
You all
sir.
been making some great strides here, but this battle is not over yet. The man ain't racist. He don't care what color his slaves are. These people will not be giving up the fight. They're going to fight us tooth and nail. They're going to continue to fight us. Every generation must re-win its own freedoms. And this is the iconic battle for us to find out whether we can maintain this freedom of being able to associate with the green natural plants. You think about that.
Well, there are expansions in artificial intelligence and nanotechnology and biotechnology. If we don't establish freedom of consciousness and freedom of thought and expand natural rights and return control to the people economically, this utopian potential is overwhelming.
It's the synthetic subversion, brothers.
Synthetic
The
subversion.
whole idea of America is going to go down the tubes. Let me ask you folks, if you have any idea about what I've been talking here tonight, if you have any idea that you'd like to help me in my campaign, you can go to gatewood.com. That's GATEWOOD, gatewood.com, and you can join in the fight. This is for everybody. This is for America. This is for the whole concept of America. Do we still have a life? You will never, ever, ever get a chance to support somebody who stands more in common for what you believe freedom ought to be in this country than we're going to do it in Kentucky. If we can do it in Kentucky, we're going to stand firm for everybody across the country.
I want to remind our viewers out there that we're going to have a benefit for Gatewood tomorrow at the Clinton Street Theater. That's Saturday, May 14th, at the Southeast 26th and Clinton Street. Clinton Street Theater at Southeast 26th and Clinton Street. We'll be there between 3:30 and 5:30. So come on down and participate. So Gatewood, I just really want to thank you for taking the time to travel out here. We're going to have this event tomorrow. I know you're going to be going to a couple other events with us tomorrow morning, and then you got to go home and back on the campaign trail in Kentucky in Sunday.
I've got to tell you, I don't like to fly.
Yeah.
I just don't like to fly. And but the opportunity to appear out here on this program, knowing what a groundbreaking program it's been, knowing the success you've had in getting it distributed on a fairly wide basis, it just was impetus for me to come out. And we've been friends a long time, and I hadn't seen you in a while. And I want to come out and encourage you and encourage all you Oregonians to keep on pushing, folks. I mean, you just don't know how much fuel it lends us to see folks to start to succeed, even a few minor successes. But this is not minor, this is major. It just gives us all hope. I mean, I just want to come out and thank you all, and not only you, but everybody who's watches and everybody who makes your efforts a success.
You can see all these people behind the cameras, too. I really thank you, Gatewood.
Yes, indeed. One other thing, folks. I've run for office before, and if I was going to lie to you, I'd already been elected.
Amen. Got another amen out of me there. Well, I want to thank you folks for watching. We're going to go out with some music by Mr. Tim Pate. Tune back in next week. Come to the event tomorrow. Also, every week, if you want to come down to our television show, we have volunteer packages for the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act. To find out more, go to hemp.org. Turn in next week and help us restore hemp. Good night.